Good afternoon to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com with your hurricane outlook and discussion. Thursday, Wednesday, someday, whatever the day of the week it is, doesn't matter, September 3rd. It's Thursday, right? I think so. It is September 3rd, I know that. I'm not going to be on camera today because I look like I've been hit by a truck, and we don't need that. And we're here for the graphics and everything else anyway. It's not like Matthew McConaughey is doing these updates, right? Or Ryan Gosling. Anyway, let's get on with it. Busy out in the eastern Atlantic. And the good news is, after the landfall of Nana, which became a hurricane last night, we don't have any other systems despite the apparent ganging up out here that looks imminent. You see this and you go, oh my goodness, it's all coming for us. Well, not so fast. We're going to have to wait and see. Every one of these could develop into a hurricane, and it's going to matter, is there going to be a trough sitting over here, and the ridge is out this way, and they find a nice path out, maybe even sparing Bermuda, which is right there? We don't know. Nobody knows. So I wouldn't get too worked up when you see all of this orange and yellow and red. It just means it's a very active peak time of the season, which we would expect this time of year. And we'll just keep an eye on things, right? That's what you would do anyway. It's not like you need me to tell you that. But I am here to tell you that, and we go forward with it, and we see what develops down the road. Looking at the satellite imagery, again, lots of activity, lots of potential, but nothing really to be concerned with just yet. The leftovers of Nana over here in Guatemala, bringing some very heavy rainfall to that region. Lots of unsettled weather throughout the Caribbean, but nothing organizing, and a lot of energy out here in the deep tropics, but everything's just kind of taking its time. We are in sort of this in-between phase where the Madden-Julian oscillation is kind of helpful, not a very good Kelvin wave period right now. In other words, things are just kind of ho-hum. The Atlantic's warm, it's peak time of the season, early September, and other positive factors, but it's not like it's overwhelmingly favorable, and so we don't have much to really hang our hats on in terms of something that might develop. Still, a few areas of vorticity. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's Nana there. There's Omar there. So pretty busy. But again, we got to take this, look at all the positives we can get, and that is we don't really have much developing for the time being. And we can look at the MJO, speaking of that, and let's highlight it with sky blue, shall we? So you see where we've been. This is when we had Marco and Laura, and then Nana and Omar through these phases here. Now the Madden-Julian oscillation is heading over into the null phase, which is basically saying there's not any real discernible MJO activity anywhere. And some of the envelope guidance here, or the ensemble guidance, the envelope of it, that's what these gray areas mean, kind of outlining the ensembles, indicating maybe the MJO gets towards the maritime continent areas of the Pacific, but not very amplified. And so as long as it's not very amplified here, the Atlantic basin, which is typically favored 8, 1, 2, and 3, it just depends. I mean, different phases have different results, and this is all a very complicated thing, but just because we don't have discernible Madden-Julian oscillation activity doesn't mean you won't have development in the Atlantic. It's just going to be harder for it to come by, not being enhanced by the Madden-Julian oscillation's upward motion that's typically pretty favorable. And we can look at a couple of interesting things. This is a tweet here from Ethan. Works for the Weather Network. The Weather Network is up in Canada, and where it's much cooler, it should be, than my office, where I still have no air conditioning. A story for another day. I shall prevail. At least I have a meeting in Raleigh today, this evening, with our programmer, one of our programmers. He is our data specialist, and he's going to figure out how to talk to the Kestrel drop sensors using a Raspberry Pi, so that we can transmit those in real time. So I'll have an excuse to get in a vehicle and be in the air conditioning there. And somebody mentioned yesterday, why don't you open your windows? Trust me, man, the windows are open, and it's just letting in 107 degree heat index air. It's not any better. It's not like it's 47 degrees outside. I mean, good suggestion, but already tried it, and it just blows more hot air in. Oh well, again, at least it gives me empathy for what people are going through in Louisiana, who not only have no air conditioning, but some of them don't even have a house. So I'm not complaining, it's just an observation. Anyhow, I got distracted. Let's get back to what Ethan is saying. Strong North Atlantic trapping ridge and an active African easterly wave train are expected over the coming 2 weeks. This spells trouble if it were to be, I'm adding this part, if it were to happen just like this. Excuse me, it spells trouble for the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. What are we looking at? Well, these are the 500 millibar height anomalies. In other words, how much above or below normal are the heights in the atmosphere? And you see some pretty stout ridging here with this orange color, and the more pronounced the gradient here, the thicker the heights are, the higher the heights are in the atmosphere, or the thicker they are, the thicknesses. This is meteorology here, so I don't want to lose you, but when you see these gradients here, and especially the oranges, you're looking at more ridging across the Atlantic. I would be more concerned if this was farther to the south and west, maybe over this way, and we saw that deepest orange back over here. But we'll see. This is still several days out. This is days 3 through 10. And we know from looking at the model guidance that we're going to get several systems to develop out in the eastern Atlantic, probably going to have 3 named storms at once. Where they end up is going to be completely determined by how strong the ridging is over the North Atlantic. Nobody, neither Ethan nor Jack Sillen, Mark Sudduth, Michael Ventris, any of the guys we watch, nobody knows. Ben Knoll, we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like 10 days from now. So let's look at what we do know, and that is, back to the National Hurricane Center graphic, we have a parade of activity getting ready to come off. So we're going to have players on the field. Then the question becomes, will we have ridging out here that is stout enough to get any one of these systems to continue on to the west to where they could come up the East Coast, just off the East Coast, affecting the Canadian Maritimes, which would directly impact some of Ethan's viewers there from the Weather Network? Or do these ride low enough through the Caribbean and end up in the Gulf? We don't know. Absolutely do not know. We can look at the ensembles, you can look at analogs, and you can try to figure it out yourself till you're blue in the face. And since we can't do much else because of the dadgum virus, I guess if you have all day, go at it. Have at it. Try to figure it out. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to wait and just let things play out. These things are going to develop out in the eastern Atlantic. We'll have plenty of time to watch. It pretty much assures that we're going to get to the Greek alphabet, in my opinion. Yes, I know we've had 15 named storms. A lot of them have been weak. And the ACE count, the accumulated cyclone energy, the amount of oomph, if you will, the amount of power. We haven't had very strong hurricanes for a long amount of time. Now, Laura was a 150-mile-per-hour hurricane, but that was right up till before landfall. We have not had a long track, all the way out here like Irma, Category 3, 4, 5. Irma itself was like 64 or so ACE points. And ACE points, accumulated cyclone energy. So right now for the season, I think we're sitting at like 44, 45 points. And so as I mentioned on Twitter in response to someone talking about this low ACE score so far, considering 15 named storms, I liken that to saying that Michael Jordan, the great Michael Jordan, has had a slow first half. I mean, honestly, read into that what you may. College, well, he did play college at UNC. NBA basketball greats and how that's connected to hurricanes, figure it out. It's true. It's not a direct connection, but I think that we're going to make up for those ACE points. I mean, come on, we have all of September, all of October, and at least the first 2 weeks of November. Let's check back with that on November 30th and see how it all worked out. Plenty of time left, plenty of warm water. I think we're going to have a lot of ACE producers fairly soon. All right? Luckily, nothing impacting land for the time being, except for the leftovers there of Nana. Something that did impact land. We had a camera, thanks to our man Brent, using my ideas and what we've been working on together, Brent and I, for the last almost 3 years. Well, actually 2 years coming up. The heat's getting to me. This idea of putting unmanned cameras out there, we put one, Brent did, in Lake Charles at the parking deck looking at this building here, this office building. So this is the eye wall moving in. If you haven't seen this yet, I want to show you. This is the results of teamwork, our crowdfunding, all the above, Brent's excellent work, taking what we've all developed together and applying it here. This is the eye wall coming in. He mounted the camera on a light post, the actual lamp post in the parking lot. There's a power flash there. And, you know, pretty solid eye wall coming in. You can see the rain kind of going around the building here and sheeting around the building. Pretty fascinating stuff here. And you see another power flash right there. The area goes dark. Power comes back on. Power flash comes up again. Pretty powerful eye wall. Then the eye moves over Lake Charles, and inside that eye, and ringing the eye in the eye wall, was mesovortices. These mini swirls, if you will, and notice right up here what's getting ready to happen. Right through here, it just shreds, because one of those mesovortices, you can't see the mesovortex itself, but it's this spinning wind, downdraft of spinning wind, almost like a tornado, that just goes through, probably wind coming in from the back of the building, pressure out the front, and the overall cyclonic rotation of that mesovortex blasted out these windows of this office building. You've seen the pictures, lots of storm chaser video of it, but this fixed camera phenomenon here, where we can see it from a fixed location. I know it's a little bouncy because it's on a light pole, for goodness sakes. There's not much else to choose from there. At least we get to see it from a fixed point of view. And here it is enhanced in what we call post-production, messing with some of the contrast and the lighting, and you can really see the violent nature. Those are, you know, this is not an old office building. It's modern, and the glass just blasts out of there. Very, very dangerous, not from just the falling glass, but had anybody been in that building, they could have been blown out to their death, absolutely. This has tremendous implications for vertical evacuation in a city like Houston or Miami or New Orleans, New York City, any area that has tall buildings. You know, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Tampa. You know, and this was a Category 4 hurricane, and this building high enough up that these upper stories here pretty much unimpeded in terms of friction. The wind has direct access. So here it is close up, zoomed in and enhanced so you can see the lighting better, and that's the mesovortex hitting the building. And the reason you don't see any rain or anything, and this is what's so weird, it happened during the eye, the very eastern edge of the eye. Greg Nordstrom and Brent, Tony Bright, all talking about these mesovortices that were rotating around. We got to research this. We got to look into it as time progresses. Talk to some meteorologists, some structural engineers, some atmospheric physics folks. Really, really interesting phenomenon, especially to catch it from a fixed stationary camera. So really, really solid work there from Brent. The whole team here working together to, you know, Greg and his suggestion of getting to a parking deck in a downtown area like that. Good work by all, and something we can study for months and years to come. It becomes visual data at that point. Fascinating to look at, terrifying, but there's clues in that video that serve as data, and we will begin to unravel that in the months ahead. All right, so stay tuned. Very cool stuff. And the power of teamwork, the power of our crowdfunding. And if you want to get involved, that is how you do it right there, patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. And you can become a part of this yourself. Absolutely. Check that out. Learn more about it and join up this movement for science-based hurricane and other severe weather research, observation, and education. That is how we fund it. All right, so there you go. I'm done. I got to get out of here. I got to get a shower. I think I'm going to put it on cold today. Yep, just no heat, just cold. get a good shower, freshen up, and hit the road, go up and meet with my buddy Jason as we begin to work on communicating with these Kestrel devices through Raspberry Pi, tiny little computers, looks like a deck of cards, to bring you live pressure data across a vast area when the next hurricane makes landfall. We are working on it, all thanks to the funding and the support that we get from people just like you. As always, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate that very much. I am Mark Sudduth, sweating to death here. Now, that's an exaggeration. I'm fine. I'll stop talking about it, I promise. HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with you tomorrow.